This year marks my 65th birthday, and I go by the name Aurora Morgan. Currently, I reside with my retired husband, a kind and caring man with whom I've shared a long and supportive companionship. Together, we are blessed with two children, Henry and Caleb, both happily married. However, our home has begun showing signs of age, prompting us to contemplate renovation. We decided that if we were to embark on this refurbishment journey, it would be practical to live temporarily with our eldest son, Henry, and his wife. Upon contacting Henry and proposing the idea, he expressed hesitancy over the phone. Apparently, the thought of us cohabiting didn't sit well with him or his wife, Hannah. Despite their reservations, we insisted on including a room for us in the renovation plans. Upon sharing this with Henry over the phone, he was audibly hesitant, expressing concern about the challenges of living together. Hannah, his wife, vehemently opposed the idea. Eventually, we decided to drop the suggestion, acknowledging that it might not be the best arrangement. Following this conversation, I shared the details with my husband, who remained optimistic. Despite our eldest son's reservations, he suggested renovating our home to make it more suitable for our elderly years, creating a barrier-free environment where we could live comfortably, just the two of us. Several months later, our home was transformed according to our specifications. It became a barrier-free residence, ensuring our comfort and convenience in our later years. Eventually, we invited both our sons and their wives for a gathering. Skylar, our younger son's considerate wife, arrived first, expressing her appreciation for our cooking and offering her assistance in the kitchen. However, when Henry and Hannah arrived, their attitudes were less than pleasant. They made themselves at home on the sofa, demanding tea as if they were the hosts. Despite their disrespectful behavior, we tried to maintain a peaceful atmosphere. During the meal, Henry, appearing irritated, broached the subject we had gathered to discuss. As he spoke, he dropped a bombshell, a recent lung cancer diagnosis. While Caleb and Skylar were visibly shocked, Henry and Hannah's expressions remained unchanged. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Caleb inquired about the current status of the cancer diagnosis, his voice trembling with concern. The response was delivered calmly, leaving us all to contemplate the challenges that lay ahead in the coming weeks. I faced the harsh reality of being admitted to the hospital, knowing that cancer had already spread throughout my body. The doctors, with somber expressions, delivered the devastating news. I had only 6 months left to live. As Skylar tried to hold back tears, I bit my lower lip. Henry, seemingly detached, remarked about my aging, as if it were happening to someone else. Hannah nonchalantly responded, "Well, you can't beat age, can you? My uncle died suddenly from stomach cancer." Their callous statements infuriated me, and I couldn't help but raise my voice, urging them to stop. Skylar and Caleb attempted to calm the situation, assuring that they would take care of Mom in my absence. As the eldest son and his wife appeared preoccupied with their phones, seemingly indifferent to the gravity of the situation, my spouse, with a calm demeanor, requested our children to look after Aurora in the coming months. Caleb and Skylar reassured us, but the eldest son and his wife barely acknowledged the request. The meeting concluded after lunch, and I walked outside to bid farewell to Caleb and Skylar, as Henry and Hannah had hurriedly departed. Despite the difficult circumstances, Caleb encouraged me to keep going, assuring their continued support. However, there was an unspoken tension between us and the eldest son's family. The following week, I opted for palliative care over surgery and chemotherapy, leading to my admission to the hospice. Caleb and Skylar diligently accompanied me every day, providing transportation and nursing care. Unfortunately, the eldest son and his wife never visited, even as my health deteriorated over 5 months. Fearing for my life, I implored my eldest son and his wife to attend, but their dissatisfaction was apparent. During their brief visit, Henry showed no compassion, avoiding any interaction with me. In less than 10 minutes, they hastily left, citing work commitments. After they departed, I noticed Hannah had forgotten her jacket. As I tried to return it, I overheard their callous conversation in the corridor. Hannah questioned the fate of the inheritance, while Henry grinned at the prospect of financial gain from the house refurbishment. Their focus was on the potential windfall rather than the imminent loss. Unable to bear the heartlessness of their conversation, I returned to the patient room. 2 weeks later, my husband passed away suddenly, leaving behind a family marked by indifference and greed. I'm up beside my husband for an extended period, finding solace in Caleb and his wife, Skylar, who were there to console me. With their support, I managed to assume the role of the primary mourner and successfully led the funeral proceedings. After the funeral, when only close relatives remained, Henry couldn't contain himself any longer and spoke up about our father's inheritance. He seemed impatient, asking about his thoughts on the matter immediately. Caleb promptly reprimanded him, but Henry, dismissing the notion of the younger son having a say, insisted on discussing the inheritance right away. Exhausted, I exhaled a sigh and suggested we address the inheritance matter the following week. The eldest son and his wife sneered at the idea but quickly left for the day. The next week, both couples gathered at our house to discuss the inheritance. I made an announcement, stating that our father's inheritance amounted to $20,000. Henry seemed taken aback, and despite my calm explanation, he questioned the figure. I handed him a large envelope containing all the necessary documentation and asked him to review it. The expressions on Henry and Hannah's faces changed dramatically after scanning the documents. As they realized that the inheritance was indeed $20,000, Henry voiced his dissatisfaction, suggesting it was too little. Caleb interjected, proposing they should also obtain the house. I calmly explained that the lack of funds was likely due to the renovations our father diligently undertook to make the house suitable for our old age. I asserted my intention to keep the house and care for it as long as I lived, emphasizing that it was unjust for Henry to try to benefit on his own. Henry looked intense, as if ready to confront me, but Caleb intervened, holding him back. Caleb reminded Henry of our father's concern for me until the end. Despite my offer to divide the inheritance fairly, the eldest son and his wife persisted, suggesting that if they didn't want it, they should hand over their portion to them. Skylar and Caleb, however, expressed their intention to give up their inheritance, asking me to appreciate their contribution. The eldest son and his wife interrupted again, insisting that I should hand over their portion. I firmly rejected the idea, explaining that it was not going to happen. They showed no concern for my fixed income and difficulties, expressing their eagerness to accept the money. In response, Caleb reprimanded them, calling them scumbags and urging them to respect their elderly parents. Despite Caleb's admonitions, the eldest son and his wife remained unapologetic, implying that the elderly should keep to themselves and attend only weddings and funerals. It was a bitter moment, leaving a sour taste in the air. I lowered my head and clenched my fists, absorbing the hurtful remarks. Not only did they desire my husband's absence, but they also complained about the inheritance. To add insult to injury, they referred to me as a parasite. I couldn't fathom where I had gone wrong in raising them. Tears welled up, but I composed myself and addressed Henry and the others calmly. "I've heard what you're saying. Let's take a break for a moment," I said, keeping my emotions in check. The eldest son and his wife looked momentarily surprised, but their expressions quickly turned smug. "Is that so? That's even better than we could have hoped for. We no longer have to deal with the old lady. Lucky us," they sneered as they attempted to leave. While Henry and Hannah were making their escape, they made a snide comment to Caleb and his wife, implying that the responsibility of looking after the elderly lady now fell on them. Caleb and his wife rushed to my side as Henry and Hannah stormed away. They reassured me, offering their support and encouragement. As the months passed, I found myself at home, relaxing, when unexpectedly, Henry and Hannah visited, accompanied by Caleb. Confused, I wondered why they were back after we seemingly cut ties. They demanded to be let in, shouting at the door. Caleb apologized, and I allowed them into the house. In the living room, the eldest son and his wife started yelling, questioning why I had handed over the house without considering them. I calmly explained that Caleb expressed his desire to keep the house, preserving his father's memories. The eldest son and his wife appeared surprised, and I clarified that Caleb and Skylar had been immensely supportive. Henry, still bewildered, asked for clarification. I glanced at the eldest son's wife, who seemed ready to explode, and explained that I had decided to hand over the house because Caleb and Skylar had shown dedication and assistance. Expressing gratitude, I smiled warmly at Caleb and Skylar, thanking them for their unwavering support. The eldest son and his wife, dissatisfied, argued that I had promised to take over the residence on my own. I addressed them calmly, offering an explanation for my decision while maintaining my composure. I considered giving it to you if you could respect both your father's and my wishes. Additionally, I've started receiving rental revenue. To the surprised eldest son, I sighed and explained gently, "Remember last year when my father, your grandfather, passed away? Caleb attended the funeral, but you claimed you couldn't because you were too far away. Well, your grandfather was a landlord with various properties and apartments. I finally received my inheritance and started earning rental income." The eldest son and his wife were thunderstruck. "No one informed us about this," they exclaimed. I calmly continued, "I've been earning roughly $2 million every year. It's simple to offer my son and his wife a home." The eldest son and his wife abruptly stood up, insisting that if it's about this, they should care as well. "Why should I give assets to someone who called me a parasite?" I asserted emphatically. "You're the ones who told me not to interfere with your life, right? So there you have it. Please don't leech off of me if you're going to label me a parasite." The eldest son and his wife appeared at a loss for words as I pointed to the door. "Isn't it true that our conversation is over? Please excuse yourself," I asserted. The eldest son pleaded, but I refused, urging them to leave. "Please pay attention to what I'm saying," he implored, grabbing my arm. I stared at him coldly, denying any excuse for him to call me mom. "Can you also offer us a house or money?" "We have a problem," begged the eldest son's wife loudly. I looked at them both and responded, "Are you in trouble? What exactly do you mean?" The eldest son spoke tentatively, admitting they spent recklessly, expecting their dad's fortune and accumulating debt. I yanked the eldest son's arm away and scolded him. "Unbelievable. I never expected you to do something so dumb. You sow the seeds with your own deeds, so deal with the consequences." "Mom, that is simply excessive." I addressed their frustrated faces and announced, "I'll begin transferring assets to Caleb through lifelong contributions from now on. I'm not going to pay you a single cent because I've severed relations with you. Please do not bother me again." Caleb stood up, supporting his promise that they should leave. The eldest son and his wife left, seemingly deflated. Caleb massaged my back as I recovered my breath. Subsequently, the eldest son and his wife allegedly borrowed more money, leading to bankruptcy. Their future seems bleak, with disputes in their flat at night. As for me, I handed over the house to Caleb and purchased an assisted living apartment nearby. Caleb and his wife visit frequently, and a cute grandson was recently born. Moving forward, I aim to treasure each day while cultivating a positive relationship with my second true family. That is my future strategy.